Welcome everyone. I'm glad to see just a good turnout this morning, and thank you for taking the time just to learn more about digital storytelling and preserving your culture using technology. This is a topic that I'm personally really passionate about and have been involved with a few projects across Canada over the past few years, and it's so exciting what you could do, and technology is constantly changing, and storytelling just can be so dynamic now, which is just amazing to see. And there's just sky's the limit with the possibilities of what you can do. And I'll just give you a little brief intro on CES, or Canadian Ecotourism Services. So Canadian Ecotourism Services, we've been around for over 19 years and work with tourism development projects, cultural preservation projects related to a variety of different initiatives, from the planning side of things to workshops, entrepreneur coaching programs, and cultural preservation projects. We primarily work with Indigenous communities across Canada, and have the privilege of working Canada-wide as well. Right now we have mobile offices set up in Ontario, Manitoba, and BC, but we tend to just kind of work all over Canada, which is great. So what we're going to talk about today is I'll introduce the whole concept of digital storytelling and what's that all about, and benefits of having projects like this in your community. Also, what makes an interesting story, defining what stories you'd like to share, who's going to tell the stories, and in what format are you going to tell the stories. I'll also touch upon creating a living museum for your community, so a dynamic way of sharing information and preserving your culture for future generations. Also, branding your values, which is really important for projects like this. And for the technical side, the user experience and mapping out the project and how it's all going to come together. And then, of course, we'll have just a question and answer period at the end. So with storytelling, it's just something that's been enriched in cultures for so long, and especially with today and the generation of the elders, loss of culture is an issue for a lot of communities, and especially with regards to language and different traditions and ecological knowledge, and being an oral culture, a lot of these stories are potentially lost on the passing of an elder. So it's a critical time for projects like digital storing and recording stories. Cultures are also always dynamic, and they're changing and evolving as well. So having a means to record these stories and preserve them and share information, and seeing how things grow and evolve throughout the years is really really important. So nowadays, with the growth of technology, there's so many different ways to share information. It's a little overwhelming. There's the whole YouTube platform, and the video platform is just has been amazing, and it provides everyone with a voice to share something and to share information. And right now, if you Google any topic, there'll be a slew of videos that appear, and so it's just, it's just putting everything together and organizing that information, making it accessible, and having some sort of a plan for everything to come together is what you could do for your community-based projects. Again, it just is overwhelming with all the different ways and different social media sites. So having a plan and having a means to have your information organized is really important. And mapping out everything and really using that community-based approach to storytelling. So for those that, when I keep talking about digital storytelling, it's using technology to share stories. So these stories can be on videos that you watch on your smartphone, videos that you see on the internet or connected to websites, connected to apps. Stories can also be in audio form. They could be written stories or even photo stories. And they're all stored in a safe digital space. So whether that's on an app, a website, linked to social media sites, it's just a dynamic way of storytelling. And with how the world's going to, there's a huge shift in more the mobile devices, so smartphones, iPads. People are on the go, they want access to technology all the time, and there's constant developments and updates with your smartphone. It's such a powerful tool, and right now too, the way websites are being developed, they're being developed so they're fully functional and function as apps on your phone. So you don't have to develop a separate app and a separate website anymore. It's just all integrated and can function as one. So now that I've introduced what digital storytelling is kind of about, I just want all of you just to kind of think as I go through this presentation, what stories would you like to share in your community, and who's going to tell those stories? And it's just something to kind of ponder and think in the background as I go through everything. So as I mentioned in my introduction, we've been involved with quite a few digital storytelling projects across Canada. This screenshot is from one of our first projects with Georgina Island First Nation, and they really wanted to focus on sharing stories from their elders and capturing dynamic photos of the elders and really creating this legacy, getting the youth involved, and having the information easily accessible. So everything's on their community website. So it's not only a storytelling website, but it's also their main community website. But the stories are the forefront. So when you go to their homepage, you'll see this shot. And you could easily click and hear their stories of their community. And since it is a legacy project, you can also click on Share Your Story. And people from the community could upload stories through photo stories, video stories, or written stories. So it's a way to continue and share information. There is a control aspect where there is a website manager that's in the community that monitors which information can be shared. And the community has set their own guidelines on what stories are appropriate. And yeah, it's just a very easy format. Anyone could do it. We've designed it in a way that it's user-friendly. Just a map out, and I can share all this information with you once the project is over too, and I'll send some website links of projects that we have completed as well. Uh, it's a website that also functions as an app. Very easy to click. We try to always do things in fours, so there's four choices of where you can click. All the stories are laid out in a dynamic format that are searchable using a timeline, different categories. Things are linked to interactive maps, and it's accessible on your desktop computer, iPads, and apps. So it's fully functional, shares a variety of different stories, and is just a dynamic way. So this is kind of how an example of how projects like these can all come together. So it ends up almost being like creating a living museum. So it's a way to share a variety of different information and also using that community-based approach. This is just a photo of a community that we worked with in Nunavut in Chesterfield Inlet, where we did a program with the high school just to get the youth involved in recording the stories and giving them some creative freedom just to share stories about their culture and have it through the eyes of the youth. We also gave them the tools and training to go out and actually do interviewing the elders themselves and really getting involved and empowering them to take ownership and pride in the project. The same went for the project in Georgina Island, where once the project was up and running, went back and did a youth program, a one-week youth program in the community, where we had younger kids and a few kids in their teens that got training on how to use the equipment, and again, giving them creative control. And it's really amazing to see through the eyes of the youth as well and get their different perspectives, and really encouraging them to go out and talk to their elders and learn about their culture and different traditions and ask questions and take ownership themselves. So it's really, really great when you get the youth and the elders involved and create a really strong community approach to projects like these. So going back to the whole idea of a living museum, all of the stories are all sorted in a dynamic format. You could search through them from whether you want to look at video stories or audio stories or written stories. There's an interactive timeline. Some also like to know by different category. If there's enough stories, you could eventually sort them based on different categories. So it's a very dynamic way, and a lot of communities have also, building off the whole museum aspect, have even looked at whether they're artifacts from the community. Some people want to focus on arts and crafts and showcasing them. I know there's even ideas of people wanting to potentially sell some of their artwork and crafts through something like this as well. So like I said, the sky is the limit of what you want to put on here, and you're just given the tools, and it's really how the community wants to shape projects like these. The community in Chesterfield Inlet really wanted a strong focus on their elders, so all the elders were highlighted in their project, and with profile shots and their names and information about them. So really it's up to each community of what stories and how you want to share it, what your focus is. So you can be really creative with projects like these. Now, branding your values. So branding is a really important aspect of these projects because it essentially ends up being your community's voice. So as I mentioned earlier, it's what stories you want to share, and it's important to have some guidelines and also just brainstorming as a community for ideas of what stories are appropriate to share for the public. There may be some stories that you just want to keep to your community and not have the public seen as well. So sorting through all that information, it is possible to have on your website or your app a members only sign-in option. So if there are any stories that you don't want featured to the public, then you could have a special members login area, so then they're just accessible to community members only. Thinking of branding through GoToMeeting, I'm not going to show the video for this, but it's called Urban Arctic, and it's a story about Greenland, and we'll send links to this video just so all of you can see it, because it's a really great branding video. So it shows it shows kind of the real side of the community, and it triggers emotions. From kind of a visitor perspective, it makes me want to go to this community and learn more, and that's the power of having a strong brand. And again, with these projects, they're legacy projects, so the community is left with training, all the tools and resources to continue to grow and add stories throughout the year. So the project just doesn't stop after the 2 months. It continues to grow and evolve, and that's what makes it so exciting. Back to branding, you know, the language and the photos used and everything is all up to the community to showcase. So it's an important part of the project, and just a way just to really showcase your community's values and really have that impact on, you know, how you want to share your stories and how you want to portray your community and have it perceived. So this was just an example of we did this project with Moose Cree First Nation in Northern Ontario. So it's just a screenshot from their homepage. So the user experience and journey of a project like this is an important aspect. And what that means is how people navigate through your website and app. So everything from how many clicks does it take to get information? Is it easy? Is it confusing? Will people get lost once they go on your website and not know what to do? So especially right in today's age, people have very short attention spans, and so you want things to be easy for people to access the information that they came to your website or app for. So just looking at how many clicks does it take to get somewhere? Does someone automatically feel engaged and with the language and the photos, they feel emotions and already are just intrigued and interested right off the bat and want to learn more and scroll and play around with everything? What type of platform do you want to use? Do you want something like a website and an app, or something dynamic, or there's kiosks if you have a public space in the community and you want you know, a storytelling kiosk set up. With Georgina Island First Nation, in their public library in the community, they set up a storytelling station. So they have the computer set up there, where people from the community can actually go and just share a story when they want to. So um, it's really up to the community on how they want to keep this project going. Uh, Again, just different ways to access the information. One part that is, I think, really cool um, and dynamic is having everything on a map. And, every story might not be from in your community per se, but stretches in the whole region. And you can have different stories, and they're all organized on maps, and again, sorting with the timeline. So having things dynamic, bringing educational components into it. So I think working with schools or youth programs is important, and projects like these can also be incorporated into course planning and special programs, educational programs for youth, just to learn where stories come from and learn more, feel more of a connection with their history in a dynamic, engaging format. So again, it's the sky's the limit with opportunities for projects such as these. So it's kind of, I know I talked a lot and might have overwhelmed some of you, but essentially these projects, these digital storytelling projects, are legacy projects for your community. They're meant to be built upon and added for years. It's building your living museum and having a safe digital space to store all that information. It's a lot of information. I'm sure everyone can relate. There's lots of photos and written text. And projects like these provide an opportunity for you to store those photos in a safe digital space and keep them so they're accessible for community members for future generations. And so I'd like to encourage you all to be storytellers and to help your community grow and record those stories for future generations. Involve youth elders, everyone in between. And I'll leave you with some tips, some basic tips to become a digital storyteller. So don't sell yourself short. So a lot of people probably have things that you really like yourself, but you think, oh, well, they probably don't think it's interesting, or I don't have anything interesting to share. Everyone has some sort of story to tell, whether even if it's a story about a memory from your childhood, or even something with your kids growing up and a moment that you shared with them. If you know a cool skill or something like that you want to share. Everyone, I think, has a story to share, and if you're not comfortable in video, there's different ways that you could share your stories, whether it's just a simple photo, a written story. You could also just do an audio recording. So it's really, whatever your comfort levels are. Also, make it your own. So everyone has their own style of storytelling too. So it's a time to be creative and encourage others to be creative as well. So if you want to do a bit of comedy into your video, or if you're really good at teaching and you want to just teach different tips and share your story that way, encourage you all to be creative. Engaging your youth and elders. So setting up community programs, encouraging the youth to talk to their elders and interview them and learn more about traditions and knowledge. And showcase your community with pride. So be proud of where you come from, be proud of your community and its history. And then just don't jump on the bandwagon just to be cool. So it's, just lots of people just like, oh, we need an app. But then don't put anything into it, and then you're left with just this app that's kind of just sitting there. So make sure this is something that the community really wants, and you're passionate about it. It's really, these are community-based projects, so again, it's the community has control of what they want to share and how you want to share it, and all like different cultural sensitivities and guidelines and things like that are all up to how the community wants to move forward with things. And when the community is also ready to, you don't want to rush into a project if the community is not ready or hesitant about things like this too. So it is a community to community basis of and complete control and ownership, and everything remains in the community. So it's really up to each community how you want to move forward with projects like this. And also just what we are offering just to all of the webinar participants. If you're interested in learning more and want to know ideas for how your community can get started, just contact us at info@ces.com, and we're happy to arrange a free coaching session with you, or you can give us a shout at our toll-free number, which is 877-444-5550. And we're happy to just share guidance and our experiences working with other communities, and just do a one-on-one coaching session for everyone. And so we're connected to social media. I have my own personal email on there, as well as Clinton is the owner of CES as well. And I know I covered a lot of different topics and might have went through things a little fast. So if there's any questions, you can ask away now, and otherwise just feel free to just contact us on your own, and then we're happy to help any way we can. Again, thanks for everyone for your time, and feel free to email or give us a shout, and we're happy to provide more information and offer free coaching sessions. So look forward to connecting with some of you in the future, and thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day.